It was supposed to be a joyful holiday season, but instead, it became a time of unexpected turmoil. My name is Emily, a 35-year-old office worker living with my husband, Henry, and our 9-year-old daughter, Lily. Our lives seemed ordinary until one Christmas when everything changed. "Hey, what's with that attitude? It's Christmas, work with me here," Henry snapped. His frustration was palpable, but I was too overwhelmed by the pain in my stomach to respond. The sharp, sudden pangs were unlike anything I'd felt before. "Please, my stomach hurts really bad," I tried to explain, clutching the phone with trembling hands. But Henry was relentless. "You're probably faking it. You're so cowardly. Just bear with the pain," he shouted before abruptly hanging up. Exhausted from the conversation, I sank onto the couch, feeling a wet sensation below. My heart raced as I realized what had just happened. "Oh no, my water broke," I whispered in disbelief. Panic set in as the pain intensified, rendering me almost immobile. I needed to clean up, but my thoughts immediately turned to our daughter, Lily. As I struggled to bear the pain, Lily entered the room, her face etched with concern. "Mom, what happened?" I forced a smile, trying to mask my fear. "It's nothing, sweetheart. Just a little discomfort." Lily, our bright and curious third grader, had been so excited about the arrival of her sibling. We hadn't planned on having another child, but after 9 years, I found myself pregnant again. Despite the surprise, Lily was overjoyed at the prospect of becoming a big sister. But there was one person who wasn't thrilled: Henry. Ever since I began my maternity leave, Henry had been growing increasingly resentful. "You're just eating for free," he'd say, as if the baby I was carrying wasn't his as well. He conveniently ignored the fact that I was still receiving pay during my leave. I avoided confronting him, knowing it would hurt his pride, but Lily had started to stand up for me. "Mom's taking a break because she's having a baby," Lily would retort, her voice firm. "Giving birth is tough and you wouldn't understand, Dad. She's still doing housework even while pregnant. Why are you being so mean?" Henry, often flustered and embarrassed by our daughter's sharp tongue, would retreat to his room, face red with anger. Thanks to Lily, I had been spared from his nightly complaints. But the guilt of letting her witness our arguments weighed heavily on me. Henry loved his childhood home and insisted we spend every holiday there, a grueling 6-hour drive each way. If he went alone, I wouldn't have minded, but he always insisted that Lily and I accompany him. "It's a wife's duty," he would say, dismissing my feelings entirely. Even when I was pregnant with Lily, Henry had pressured me to make the trip. I ended up in the hospital with high blood pressure, but he was adamant about going back the following Christmas. "Pregnancy isn't an illness. There's no need to worry so much," he'd retort whenever I expressed concern. This time I was determined to stay home. "I just want to stay home this Christmas, Henry. We don't know what might happen with the baby," I pleaded, hoping he'd understand. But Henry didn't budge. Instead, he grew angrier, his face turning red. "You just don't want to go back to my family's home, do you?" he accused, dismissing my genuine concern as mere reluctance. "I never said I didn't want to go. I'm just worried," I responded, trying to keep my voice steady. But Henry was already dialing his parents' house. He handed me the phone, and I reluctantly took it. Ethan, Henry's brother, answered. Ethan and his wife lived with Henry's parents, which made frequent visits seem unnecessary to me. "Ethan, I'm sorry, but with the baby due soon, I was hoping to stay home this Christmas," I explained, my voice trembling with exhaustion. "Of course, that's understandable," Ethan responded kindly. "You shouldn't have to stress about family obligations right now. Take care of yourself." Tears welled up in my eyes as Ethan continued to reassure me. He offered words of comfort that Henry had never once uttered. As I vented my frustration, Ethan's tone grew stern. "Put Henry on the phone, Emily." I did as he asked, bracing myself for what was to come. Ethan's anger was palpable as he confronted Henry. "Are you seriously trying to bring Emily home for Christmas? Have you forgotten what happened last time? What if something goes wrong again? How would you take responsibility if something happened to her or the baby?" Henry, who had been so stubborn moments before, grew silent. His face turned pale as the reality of the situation began to sink in. After Ethan's intervention, I spent the early days of December in relative peace. But as Christmas approached, Henry began grumbling about not going to his parents' house. Then, on Christmas Eve, after finishing the cleaning and preparing for the holiday, Henry suddenly announced he needed to buy something and left in the car. As night fell and he still hadn't returned, I grew worried. He wasn't answering his phone, and the hours were ticking by. Lily and I tried to enjoy Christmas Eve without him, but the worry nagged at the back of my mind. On Christmas morning, Henry was still nowhere to be found. Just as I was about to call him again, my phone rang. It was Henry, and the background noise suggested he was at a party. "Hey, you should come over," he slurred, clearly drunk. "Come where?" I asked, dreading the answer. "To my childhood home, of course. All the relatives are here, having a drink. Hurry up." I couldn't believe my ears. Henry had gone to his parents' house without telling me, leaving Lily and me to spend Christmas alone. "You said you were going shopping? Was that a lie?" I demanded, my anger rising. But Henry only laughed. "I don't know, but I might eat your portion too." My heart sank. After everything, Henry still hadn't understood. Just then, a sharp pain shot through my abdomen, and I gasped in shock. But Henry continued to ramble, oblivious to my distress. "Henry, wait! I'm in a lot of pain right now." I tried to tell him, but he brushed me off again. "You're probably faking it. Just bear with the pain. Don't embarrass me in front of the relatives," he shouted before hanging up. I slumped down in agony, feeling the wetness spreading beneath me. My water had broken. The pain was becoming unbearable, but I couldn't think straight. I needed to get help, but more importantly, I needed to make sure Lily was safe. "Mom, where's Dad?" Lily's voice brought me back to reality. She looked scared, and I knew I had to stay strong for her. "Lily, can you call an ambulance with this phone?" I asked, handing her my cell. But she hesitated, her small hands trembling. I realized in that moment that I hadn't taught her how to call for help in an emergency. Before I could say anything, Lily dashed out of the room, returning moments later with our neighbor. "Emily, are you okay? I'll call an ambulance right away," the neighbor said, her voice filled with concern. As I lay there, Lily held my hand, trying to comfort me. The ambulance arrived shortly after, and I was rushed to the hospital. Later that day, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. But Henry was nowhere to be seen. Henry didn't show up at the hospital until after New Year's, and even then, it was only because Ethan had dragged him there. Ethan, though not at fault, apologized profusely for Henry's behavior. But Henry himself said nothing, his expression sulky and defiant. "Henry, I don't want to see you right now," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "I'm considering a divorce." Henry looked up in shock. "What? You're so audacious. Who are you to talk about divorce?" Ethan was taken aback. "Henry, what are you saying? Emily went through this alone while you were off drinking. Do you have any idea how serious this was?" Just then, the door opened, and my father walked in, his face set in a stern expression. "Henry, do you always talk to my daughter like that?" "No, I mean," Henry stammered, clearly intimidated. "Emily was in so much pain, and you accused her of faking it. After seeing her now, can you still say that?" My father's voice was icy, his anger barely contained. "She will recover at my house for a while. You won't see her or the baby. Got it." Henry's defiance melted away as he realized the gravity of the situation, but he still tried to protest. "Who will take care of me when I'm at work?" "Do it yourself," my father snapped. "Emily worked, took care of the house, and was pregnant. If you're an adult, you can manage." Despite my father's scolding, Henry continued to sulk, but Ethan intervened. "I'm truly sorry for Henry's behavior. Congratulations on the baby, and please accept this gift," he said, handing me a small package before leaving with Henry. After 2 weeks of recovering at my parents' house, I returned home, leaving the baby and Lily in my mother's care. The sight that greeted me was one of utter chaos. The house was a mess, with trash strewn everywhere and piles of fast food containers littering the floor. It was clear that Henry had done nothing to take care of himself. Sitting down in the living room with my father beside me, I looked at Henry. To be frank, I want a divorce, I said, sliding the papers across the table. Henry stared at them in disbelief. You're serious about this? Can't you even thank or acknowledge me for giving birth? I asked, my voice filled with frustration. Oh, what? It's natural for a mom to give birth. It's not like you're working, Henry replied, his tone dismissive. My father's expression grew dark as Henry continued his nonsensical remarks. I don't want to divorce. I've always wanted a son. I'll raise him to be a baseball player like Ichiro, he exclaimed, his eyes lighting up at the thought. I was speechless. Did he really see our son as nothing more than a tool to fulfill his own dreams? Before I could respond, the door burst open, and Henry's mother stormed in. Henry, get a grip! Who do you think allows you to work stress-free? Who takes care of the kids? Who cooks every meal and keeps this house running? It's all thanks to Emily, she shouted, her voice shaking with anger. Look at this house after just 2 weeks without her. You're so ungrateful. Divorce is the only option. Henry's mother's outburst left him speechless. Without further protest, he signed the divorce papers, finally realizing the consequences of his actions. With our divorce finalized, I ensured Henry would pay child support for both Lily and our son. As part of the property division, I was given the house, thanks to the generosity of Henry's parents. They didn't want Lily to transfer schools and feel lonely, and for that, I am truly grateful. Lily, however, seems to be disappointed in Henry. She refuses to see him, and I don't intend to let our son see him either, at least not for now. Maybe one day, if Henry changes his ways and the kids want to see him, I might allow it, but that day might never come. For now, I'm determined to raise our children right, working hard every day for their sake. The love I have for them gives me the strength to move forward, leaving behind the pain of the past and focusing on the bright future that lies ahead. He forced me to travel for the holidays. While pregnant, but then my water broke.